Hello, I'm D.K. Wall, author of novels and short stories. Whether it's a tale I'm spinning or a thought I'm sharing from my home here in Asheville, what you are about to hear is 100% true, except for the parts I made up. Welcome to Musings and Tales. You want me to come in with you? His mother's voice was a fragile thread, nearly lost in the low, gut-deep rumble of their old Ford Explorer's engine. Caleb's focus was on the space outside his passenger side window. A sprawling green lawn swarmed with teenagers, a vibrant, laughing, shifting ecosystem he was about to be dropped into. His right hand, slick with sweat, gripped the door handle. His left clutched the strap of his backpack so tightly his knuckles were white. He took a breath that felt thin and useless in his tight chest. Nah, I got this. The lie tasted like chalk in his mouth. He couldn't bring himself to open the door. The car shuddered, a reminder of its failing transmission. It had broken down twice during their move to this town. His years of lessons from YouTube got it running again, but there were only so many problems you could solve with rusty tools, duct tape, and sheer hope. It wouldn't last much longer, but replacing it required money they didn't have. Caleb, honey, his mother's calloused hand rested on his arm. Her touch was an anchor. I'm so sorry for moving us again. I know it's hard. Life had been good once upon a time. Not rich, but comfortable. A world of new sneakers without holes and action figures still in the box. Until a rainy night 8 years ago, when a sharp knock on the front door woke him. He had sat on the stairs, pajama-clad knees pulled to his chest, and watched the silhouette of a policeman through the pebbled glass. He caught only a few words, a sterile phrase. "I'm sorry to inform you," before his mother's shriek shattered the night. 7 cities, 7 schools. Time to start number 8. The car door groaned in protest as he pushed it open, stepping out into the crisp autumn air, the smell of damp earth and dying leaves. "Love you, Caleb. Love you too, Ma." They weren't empty words. Ever since that night, sitting on the floor, his small arms wrapped around her neck as she sobbed into his shoulder, it had been the two of them against the world. They held hands at the funeral, the polished wood of the pew cool beneath his fingers. They did the same as the lawyer, a man with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, explained that the drunk driver had no insurance, no job, nothing. "You can't get blood from a stone," the lawyer chirped, ushering them out of his leather-scented office. The insurance companies weren't any better. The car was worth less than the loan, and the bank hounded them for the balance. The hospital called about unpaid bills. Without Dad's second shift paycheck, there wasn't enough money. Not for rent, not for clothes, not for food. When his mother heard about a better paying job in another town, they moved. When that job evaporated, they moved again. And again. Enough feeling sorry, Caleb told himself. Time to go in. He shifted the weight of the backpack, the straps digging into his shoulders, and merged into the flow of students heading toward the massive brick building. The air was a cacophony of sound. The rhythmic slap of sneakers on pavement, the percussive beat of music bleeding from earbuds, burst of high-pitched laughter. He was an unseen inhabitant, drifting through a world where he knew no one. Inside, the noise amplified. The hallway was a canyon of beige lockers and polished linoleum. The smell of floor wax and too much body spray clogged his nose. He came to a T intersection, the torrent of students splitting left and right. Caleb fumbled with the crumpled schedule in his hand. Room 1102. In the cavernous quiet of the previous afternoon, when he and his mom had walked these halls, it had seemed so simple. Now it was a 50-50 chance, a toss of a coin. He veered left without looking, colliding with a girl and sending a cascade of textbooks clattering across the floor. She gasped. Then, "Hey!" Sorry, I'm so sorry, Caleb mumbled, bending to help. Rule number 1, don't make a scene. Rule 1, broken. Before his fingers could touch a book, the guy she was with was already scooping them up. Dude, watch where you're going. What are you, lost or something? Caleb dropped his gaze to the floor, focusing on a scuff mark near his interrogator's shoe. He had learned this lesson the hard way on previous first days. Don't make eye contact. Don't be a target. At least, he thought, don't be more of a target than you already are. He gave a non-committal shrug and let the current of students carry him away. A quick glance over his shoulder confirmed his escape. With her books tucked under one arm, the boy wrapped the other around her waist and walked the opposite way. Disaster averted. But a look at the room numbers on the passing doors sent a fresh spike of anxiety through him. 1113, 1114, 1115. Wrong way, of course. The halls were thinning, the noise subsiding. Caleb turned and swam upstream against the last few stragglers, back past the intersection. At the very end of the hall, almost an afterthought, room 1102 sat tucked into an alcove. He slipped inside just as a shrieking bell sliced through the air. Scanning the room, his heart sank. In the middle sat the couple from the hallway, an empty seat beside them. His eyes darted to a safer haven, another empty desk in the back corner, the obvious choice to fade into the scenery. He set his bag down with a quiet sigh of relief, but the classroom door creaked open. A boy man, built like a refrigerator in ragged jeans and a t-shirt stretched tight over bulging biceps, filled the doorway. Shaggy hair fell over piercing eyes that locked directly onto Caleb. "That's my seat," he growled, the voice low and gravelly. A fresh voice, sharp and authoritative, cut through the room. "Mr. Diamond, if you could find it in your schedule to be on time, perhaps you could have your pick a desk. For now, the empty one up front will do." Caleb's stomach twisted. A small win now wasn't worth the price he'd pay at lunch or after school. "It's okay," he said, his own voice sounding foreign. "He can have it. I'll sit up there." Diamond shot him a look, confusion mixed with disdain, a silent temporary truce. But as Caleb picked up his bag, the horrifying geometry of the situation became clear. The only seat left was the one next to his hallway collision. He was making enemies at a record pace. He slid into the desk, a silent apology in his posture, and studiously avoided looking at the couple. He could smell the girl's perfume, something floral and sweet. The teacher approached his desk. "You must be Caleb." "Yes, sir." "Everyone, let's welcome our newest student, Caleb Quincy." The teacher returned to the center of the room. "Now open your books to chapter 16, which I'm sure you all read last night." Caleb fumbled with his strange new history book, the pages stiff and unfamiliar. He tried to focus, but the teacher's words were a meaningless drone. It was always a scramble to catch up mid-year. He couldn't concentrate. 100 pairs of eyes felt like a physical weight on the back of his neck. He heard the whispers, a rustle of dry leaves just behind him, as his new classmates sized him up. When the bell mercifully rang, the room exploded into motion. Caleb stayed put, letting the river of bodies flow out into the hall. He pulled the crumpled schedule from his pocket. 1314. Great. Now which way was the 1300 hall? A shadow fell over his desk. "Hey, newbie." Caleb glanced up into hard eyes. Diamond glared at him. "Don't ever take my seat again." Before Caleb could even form a response, another voice cut in. Casual, but firm. "Knock it off, Eric. He didn't know." To Caleb's astonishment, it was the "Are you lost" guy. He leaned against a desk, looking completely unintimidated by Diamond's bulk. Even more surprising, Diamond huffed, gave Caleb one last glare, and lumbered out of the room. One problem solved, at least for the moment, but he was alone with the other. He braced himself. Instead, the boy offered a small, crooked smile. First days are brutal, huh? It's Caleb, right? Yeah? Caleb's reply was barely a whisper. I'm Vincent. Everyone calls me Vin. Either is cool. Just not Vinny. Only my grandmother calls me that. Yeah, sure. Vin tilted his head toward the girl from the hall. This is Olivia, though I think you two already bumped into each other. Sorry, Caleb stammered. Olivia smiled and waved away his apology. My fault. I wasn't watching where I was going. Before Caleb could protest, she asked, Where are you headed next? He glanced at his schedule. 13:14. Good old tedious Taylor from algebra, Vin said, rolling his eyes. Olivia and I are in that class. Come on, we'll show you. Thanks, Caleb said, his voice thick with relief. He looked toward the door, a knot of dread still in his stomach. But what about... Eric, Vin laughed, a short, easy sound. Don't worry about him. He gets grouchy. Join us for lunch, and I'll help you smooth it over. Caleb slung his book bag over his shoulder, the weight suddenly feeling a little lighter. But why? Vin laughed. Military brat, until my dad finally mustered out. Lost count of the number of schools. So I know the crap of being the new kid. Come on, we don't want to be late. Caleb fell into step beside Vin and Olivia, joining the current in the hallway. Maybe, he thought, as Vin launched into a story about their teacher, this time it wouldn't be so bad after all. Thank you for letting me bend your ear today. If you enjoy the yarns I spin here, I invite you to explore my novels and short stories over at my online home, dkwall.com. That's dkwall.com. It would also mean the world to me if you'd follow or share this podcast so these tales can travel a little further. Your interaction tickles those little computer gremlins that spread the news. Until the next episode of Musings and Tales, happy reading.